Well, good morning, St. Philip's, and a blessed Tuesday in the fourth week of Easter to you. Today in our reflections on the Psalter, I want to talk to you briefly about the Shepherd's Psalm. Many of the Psalms have been used throughout the years in times of trial and adversity, but this 23rd Psalm in particular seems to have often been reserved for the lowest valley, the darkest of nights, the sharpest of pains. Now, I'm sure that we're probably all familiar with this psalm because of how special it's been to us and to our families over the years. Many may even know it by heart, but I'd like to read it for you here. And I'll read it in the authorized version because it's the version that most do memorize. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, we're not exactly sure when David wrote this psalm, but I suppose it was through some kind of difficulty. It could have been any number of moments when he was facing life and death. He could have been facing danger as a boy when he was a shepherd protecting his own sheep from the lion or from the bear. He could have been running for his life from King Saul when he went from cave to cave when Saul and his army was chasing David. It could have been written as David was wondering how the battle was going between his troops and his son Absalom's. If you'll remember, his son Absalom had conspired against him and brought civil war to Israel. And sadly, his son ended up dying in that war. So surely this was one of the darkest times of David's life. And in 2 Samuel 18, David's heard crying out, "Absalom, Absalom, oh my son, Absalom." And we're told that nothing anyone did or said could comfort him. Well, though we're not sure exactly when David wrote this psalm, we can almost be certain that it was written through some kind of pain, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual. Doubts could have been availing themselves to his mind, doubts of faith, doubts that he would survive, doubts that God would even make good on his promises. Psalm 23 is strong medicine for the weary soul, for the fainting soul, and even, or especially, for the dying soul. And in this brief time here, I want us to look at what the essential teaching, really what the heart of this 23rd Psalm is. And one of the clues that we have in Hebrew poetry is that they often put the most important thing right smack in the middle of the poem. So if we want to know the heart of this psalm, if we want to know what God wants to make clear to us here, we have to go to the very center. So if you see psalm laid out in Hebrew rhythm and you counted from the top down and from the bottom up, the very center of this psalm is the middle part of verse 4. And what do we find? We find that the central theme that David is trying to teach us in Psalm 23 is this: for you are with me. You're with me. Thou art with me, it says. Psalm 23 is about the very presence of God in the believer's life. In the midst of the pains and the uncertainties of life, his promise to you here is that he is with you. He's here as your shepherd to guide you when you can't see and your faith is declining. He's here as your shepherd to restore and comfort you when you grow weary and your hope begins to faint. He's here to nourish you on his luscious pastures of his goodness and his grace and his cool streams of mercy when your soul runs dry. He's here to hold you when the clouds of doubt begin to cover the light of your mind. And He'll be here as your shepherd when you come to that final veil of death to carry you on His shoulder in those eternal pastures. The great promise of this psalm in life and in ministry, whether it is in the midst of grief, depression, anxiety, another relapse, or facing death, is that you are with me, Lord. You care about what I'm going through right now. And I know that I'm not facing this alone because you are with me. Thou art with me, it says. That's the heart of this 23rd Psalm. He is with you. And it's my prayer that you're able to believe and to trust this deeply comforting promise of the Shepherd's Psalm today, that He is with you. Well, God bless you, and I hope that you have a wonderful week.